webcast back there and training our students to do it. So I just want to make sure that you're online for everything that you need for over the webcast. And if you have any other questions around the room, you can answer them. Okay, is this what I need to do? It is. There's one power switch on it. You put it in your pocket.
Okay.
It's marked wireless. And
I wrote several other things.
oh, fantastic. This is it right here. That is the video. That's going to CD. And we're ready for computers, so we want to select it.
Oh, no, it never started out. It wouldn't even read it would come out like that. All right. Testing, testing, testing. All right, everyone, welcome. Come in. Those of you who are standing, why don't you come in and find a seat somewhere here? Those of you who are outside the door, that will be very obnoxious to you, so come in. In fact, if you leave some space by the door, then people who come in late can, squish in without stepping on anyone. Sure. It's better if you attach it to glass. I follow the instructions, solid colors, and glass and everything. Okay, testing, testing. Can you all hear me? Good. Okay, do come in if you're outside, if you want to come in. Actually, I know. How about if the people who are in the aisle move forward a bit so you can let them in, or make a path? All right, so this is Psychology 107 called Buddhist Psychology, and I'm delighted that you're all interested in this, but a lot of you, all of you, don't yet know what it is you're interested in. So what I've done for today is that all the kind of structural administrative questions that normally get asked and take up a lot of time in the first meeting, I've written down the answers to on your pieces of paper. You should all have 4 things that you got. One is going to be a syllabus. One is going to be answers to frequently asked questions. One is going to be other options for taking the course or something like it if that you might want instead, and it's all written down. And the other is essentially our roll sheet. So if you, at the end of the class, do want it, whether you're enrolled or not, you need to fill out and turn in one of these. If you're enrolled, all you have to do is check, put your name and check that. And if you're not enrolled, it's already on the waiting list, no, and some other stuff. And leave that. There are a few things that didn't get on there that I need to announce. One, the class is being webcast. So there's a camera here, and they're photographing the class, and it will be archived, so you can recap lectures. And later on, I'll give you a big pep talk about why you should come to the lectures and not depend on it. And not all of the things will be webcast, but most of them. The other is that on your syllabus, the date for your final is wrong. It says the 17th. It's actually the evening of the 16th. It's correct on the answers to asked questions, but don't get confused. That doesn't apply for quite a while. The other question you have, how many of you are enrolled? Ooh, how many of you are on the wait list? How many of you, and now this is anonymous, are neither enrolled nor on the wait list? Oh, good. I mean, good that it isn't a huge number. All right. I'll see how many people actually come back next time, and that will give me, more of an idea about getting into the class. And this is not, it has been worse. I mean, there have been more people in other classes like last year than this year. So, just hang in for a while. All right. So, what's the class in the first place? So now if you can just settle and listen for a while, and then start worrying again as soon as it's over, if that's what you want to do. Well, whoops. Yes. I have just 3 days ago switched to a Mac. My apologies. Okay, so. All right, there'll be some bugs. Why have a class like this? I feel that the meditation traditions as a whole, and the contemplative traditions in Western thought and Western religion, as well as a lot of activities that we do in daily life, have stuff to tell psychology that is quite interesting and important and different from the way psychology is being done now. And so this class is about that. Let's see what happens. And here's what's different about it. The methods of finding out about who you are and your mind are different. And it's psychology from the inside instead of the outside. And actually, most of today's talk is going to be about what that means. I had the privilege of knowing Marion Diamond, the great biology professor that we had. And she would come into class and come into, I was on a symposium with her, and come up to the lectern, carrying, she's a very tall, very stately, beautiful person, carrying a pail. And if you were close enough to her, as I once was, at a symposium, the pail was going slosh, slosh, slosh. And she came up and smiled at people and reached into this pail, which then went really slosh, slosh, and brought up a dripping, real biological human brain. And everyone went, well, oh, I'm so envious. See, what this class is about is your real, live, dripping human mind. Only I can't hold it up. But you've got it. And that's the inside part of it. Now, when you study what your mind is, as from the point of view of someone who has one, you come out with and just radically different conclusions about what a human is, what the mind is, how it functions, what the world is. And that points to how I'm going to teach the class, which is from the point of view of these traditions themselves. Because if you just say, all right, we're scientists, we already know about brains and minds and all of that, and now here's this interesting kind of funny stuff that's going on. Let's reach in and see if we can pull something out and fit it into what we think we already know. You lose this radical difference. So there are going to be 2 lectures about Western research on different parts of the course, but my aim is to get through enough of what the traditions are really trying to say that then you're being trained to read all the Western stuff. All your other classes do that. A lot of you are psych majors. How many of you are psych majors? See, you're getting it, and the rest of you, how many cognitive science majors? Yeah, you're getting that, and so you can read this stuff on your own. So that's not the focus. And then the conclusion or the result is that if you work from the point of view of this radically different notion of all these things, problems get solved in different ways. And one of my favorite quotes from Einstein: "Problems can never be solved with the same mind that created them." So this is, what we're doing. The world, no matter what your perspective or your beliefs are, everyone thinks that the world is not perfect right now, at least in its outer form. And so anyway, this addresses that. Notice I haven't said anything about Buddhism yet. Okay, I talked about all these traditions. So where does Buddhism fit in? Well, you can't just talk about these things in general. You need a particular structure, a particular tradition to do it in. And Buddhism works very well for this. It conveys what I think are the basic issues, relatively free of barnacles of various sorts, theologies that are controversial and all of that. And it moves between cultures well. It's able to shed the cultural stuff that it acquires from each culture that it's been in more easily than some traditions do. And then the last thing, I didn't want to put it in writing, but I like it. Okay, we've already done that. Now, it's traditional in later Buddhism, anyway, to talk about the outer, the inner, and the secret aspect of anything. So you, with your dripping mind, have an outer autobiography and an inner one and a secret one and sometimes a very secret one. And so I'm going to run through some outer and then maybe inner parts of the class to give you an idea about it. Now, your syllabus has the outer structure. And the first part is the introduction, like what I'm doing now and for 2 more lectures. And that's to try to give you a flavor of this other way of thinking before we plunge into content per se. Starting the beginning of the 3rd week, we're going to start our laboratory work, which is meditation. And as we go through the different parts of Buddhism, the meditation will change. So the first 5 minutes of each class will have the particular meditation that goes with that part of the class. Now, meditation, particularly mindfulness meditation, it's not prayer. It's kind of type O blood that goes with any belief system or tradition, or at least that's the way I think of it and the way it will be presented and the way lots of people think of it. So if you're going to worry about something, don't worry about that. there are some ground rules for meditation in class, which is simply that you're not going to bother your neighbors. Now, your mind is your private mind. You can sit and you can worry about anything you want instead of doing whatever technique we're doing. But if you sit and read and turn pages or check your email on your cell phone or whatever, you may think it's very quiet, but it does bother people. It has happened, and they come and complain. So, don't do it. And ever since I started announcing this, there haven't been any problems. So I don't know what sanctions would happen if you did it that way, but we'd find something. Now, the next 3 chunks of the class are going through the 3 main historical stages of Buddhism, because Buddhism evolved. Going through it from the point of view, or what are the pithy things that they have to contribute to our understanding of mind and a human and the world. So alas, a lot of the interesting, fascinating cultural things that one could talk about, we won't, because we can't do everything. And later Buddhism has a wonderful divine trick of thinking of the development of an individual student. Their understanding develops like the history of Buddhism, where you need each part, and they build on each other. In fact, that's true. So nothing at the beginning is ever rejected. It's just kind of reinterpreted or more deeply understood, or however, from whatever point of view you're coming. And so we're going to take advantage of that for the class and do it that way. And then finally, the last part is the implications of all of this, perhaps, for everything you can think of. You've got all that in your syllabus. All right. Now, we come to the part to perhaps show the promise and the perils of the class. All right. This is an 11th century tale about a scholar and university teacher named Naropa. At that period in India, Buddhism started in India and it spread around to all the neighboring regions. There were these mega universities in India, the largest of which in North India was called Nalanda. May sound familiar. And Naropa is he's already a Buddhist practitioner, he's a scholar, and he's a professor there. And he's sitting one day on his balcony with his back to the sun, studying his books on grammar, epistemology, spiritual precepts, and logic, when a terrifying shadow fell on them. Looking around, he saw behind him an old woman with 37 ugly features, and then with great delight, those are all enumerated. I won't go into it. Just, okay, there's your prototypical old hag looking at him over his shoulder. And she says, what are you looking into? And he says, I'm studying my books on grammar, epistemology, spiritual precepts, and logic. And she says, do you understand them? And he says, yes. And she says, do you understand the words or the meaning? And he says, the words. And she's delighted, and she rocks with laughter and begins to dance, waving her stick in the air. Old hags have sticks. And so then Naropa adds, I also understand the meaning. And then she begins to weep and tremble, and she throws her stick down. And he says, how is it that you were happy when I said I understood the words, but became miserable when I added that I also understood the meaning? And she says, I felt happy because you, a great scholar, did not lie, and frankly admitted that you only understood the words. But I felt sad when you told a lie by stating that you understood the meaning, which you do not. Okay, this is our challenge. Because in these terms, what you're being trained to do with great skill, becoming proficient in, is understanding the words or how the surface of the mind works, and not the depth meaning. So, and what does that mean? Again, traditionally, when pearl fishers went out on their little boats at this time in India, the captain would